creatures of the night. It's your girl Tati. Let's talk about Dynamite. We had a really great episode, and after the show I was really emotional. If you saw me during the live stream, sorry for screaming in your ears. There were some things that I felt like I didn't like in terms of the results, but overall I thought it was a good show. We started off with Mercedes versus Athena, which I thought was a mistake. At first, I actually thought this would have been the main event, especially with this being the first time that they're in the ring, and also because CEO is from Boston. So I thought, all right, well, this definitely could be main event. We started off with this. They had really great chemistry with each other, but best case scenario would have been to see these two girls having their first match at All In. They could have had a feud and everything throughout this time up until the pay-per-view. We could have dragged it out. We really could have, to have a strong feud, to have these girls have a first matchup for the pay-per-view. And honestly, it's definitely giving rematch vibes for All In. And as a promoter, I don't think that that's the best case scenario when you're thinking about giving someone something for the first time. Now, we do have both of these girls who I thought had great chemistry, but I didn't feel like they gave it their all, because obviously most likely there's a rematch in the future, but we'll see. And while the match was pretty intense, the crowd is cheering for both, for CEO and our falling goddess. However, CEO ends up taking the win, which didn't surprise me at all. I think that this is to open the doors to pretty much putting their feud out there, in terms of she ends up advancing to the finals at Double or Nothing with Jamie Hayter or Chris Statlander, and somehow Athena gets involved, costs her from winning that, which will keep her from winning or getting the opportunity to go against Toni Storm for the women's title. Now, this was a roll-up situation too. When you have a roll-up situation, it's an act of desperation, and also keeps the door open for a rematch or a feud to continue. So with that being said, I did not like how that ended. However, after this, we do have Toni Storm, who is out in a crowd watching the girls, and we're starting to see that, okay, there's a possibility that Mercedes could be holding a fifth title, which is the AEW Women's Championship, but that I highly doubt. After this, Renee Paquette back there looking real cute tonight. She's with Hangman, who also looks really cute tonight, and they're interrupted by the Young Bucks and Okada. The Young Bucks, I don't know what it is, but I feel like they're throwing out there that, hey, you know, you should be with us. We should be friends. We did what we did during Moxley's match with Swerve for you, because that's what you would have wanted. Something about this still kind of feels a little bit forced right now, but we'll give it some time to see where it goes. Okada did end up calling Hangman a bitch, because apparently that's the only thing he could do, was just call people bitches and not get in the ring. Whatever the situation is, we're getting ready for the wild card match with Hangman and his opponent. Now, Hangman comes on out there, and then we're waiting, and we're waiting. Some music hits. We don't know what music that is, and it turns out to be Josh Alexander. Can I just say, I'm slightly disappointed, because number one, we're full in AEW. That's number one. And then number two, for storyline purposes, it could have been Jack Perry. It could have been Jeff Jarrett, which we wouldn't even have wanted either. But at least something like that would have made sense. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Josh lost the match, his debut match, and he lost it. All this so that he can have a place in the Don Callis family. What was interesting was Uncle Don and Kyle Fletcher came out. Kyle Fletcher and Hangman got into it, and Josh was just standing out there outside the ring, and Uncle Don is whispering something in his ear, and then Josh is like, all right, whatever, fuck it. He gets in there and he gets physical with Hangman, and they whoop his ass together. He ends up leaving, and Fletcher continues to beat up on Hangman. To be honest, if y'all wanted him to join, maybe not this way would have been the best case scenario. He could have had his debut match with someone else. I don't want it to feel like Don Callis' family is just full of losers. Like, why have someone join this group and he already lost his very first match. He doesn't even feel credible in terms of an AEW audience to be in that group. Maybe, some people are familiar with who he is outside of AEW, but for an AEW audience, he should have been in a match where he would have won, not this one, another match where he should have won his debut match that somehow would have led to him joining the Don Callis family. I didn't like how this happened at all. After this, we do have the patriarchy back there. And Nick Wayne is just talk. And then all of a sudden, Kip Sabian looked to the side and it's our stepdaddy. Our stepdaddy is back. We do miss Christian. Christian comes on out there. He said, oh, you were talking outside your neck the last time I seen you a month ago. I let things cool down for this past month that I haven't been here. And he goes on to say, the last time I talked to you, you seem to have a fire lit up in your ass. So I got you an opportunity to go to Japan to be part of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, which is a really great opportunity for Nick Wayne, by the way. However, in order to, get him ready for this tournament, he has to have a match on Collision with somebody for a little warm-up. And there was just like, he's going to go against another super lightweight or whatever the hell he said. And it turned out to be Commander. Why wasn't I not impressed when they said Commander? I was just like, oh, Commander. Oh, okay. We could have picked someone else, but okay, fine. We'll see how that ends up going after this. The Gates of Agony. Lord have mercy. The Gates of Agony going against the Hurt Syndicate for the Tag Team Championship. I thought the Gates of Agony did pretty well here for an opportunity like this. And watching them in the ring with the Hurt Syndicate, I know they're happy to get this type of opportunity. However, this should open the door for other opportunities for them. Like, there's no reason why at least the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships wouldn't be on these two guys after seeing what they're able to do in the ring. And it's been quite some time since we've seen them be able to get some TV time. But we already knew going into this who was going to end up taking the win. The Hurt Syndicate, we hurt people, so we win. Oh my gosh, it was a really, really great effort by the Gates of Agony. But unfortunately, I don't know if this is actually going to lead to anything for them long term. However, after the Hurt Syndicate ends up retaining, MJF comes on out there. MJF is trying to bribe his way once again into the Hurt Syndicate, and he even bought gifts. And it was basically a modern day Ho Train with 6 girls or something like that. And I'm gonna say this, like, some of y'all are just gonna be like, what the fuck? But this is just me. Yes, I was complaining of the lack of women of color that was within the whole train. How you gonna have all these girls, not one black girl in the lineup, not even an Asian girl, nothing? And I thought that was very interesting because I was just like, this looks like exactly the type of girls that Bobby Lashley's into. Not a single black woman up in this lineup, which was very interesting to me. And I don't know, that just kind of bothered me a little bit, but whatever, that's neither here or there. He tries to bribe her with the girls. Shelton at first seemed like he was convinced, but then he's like, nah, maybe if you take that watch off, I might think about it. So apparently now we rob people. He ends up giving Shelton the watch, and unfortunately that's still not enough to convince them to have him join the group. Now MJF ends up leaving, and the girls ends up leaving with Hurt Syndicate. And, I see where they're going. I see where it's going. I feel like it's dragging a little bit. And I don't even know if it's going to end up with him being part of the group. But at the end of the night, they end up taking the hoes wherever they're going. And I don't know. I'm just waiting for things to get a little bit better with this story. And the lack of women of color, I don't like it. Match of the night. Definitely TV match of the year. Takeshita versus Will Ospreay for the semifinals. Winner of this match wins that side of the bracket. And, from the very beginning, when Will Ospreay said about like a month ago or so that he was going to join the Owen and win and go to All In to go for the world title, whatever, I said, I know this bitch is going to do exactly that. And for whatever reason, with this match, I was just like, fuck it, Takeshita should win. I have this Will Ospreay fatigue that I think maybe other people experience too. And it's hard to hate on this guy because he is extremely talented in the ring. Extremely talented in the ring. And I don't want to bring up WWE, but the truth is that WWE, they tout themselves as like the best form of sports entertainment. But I don't think they have a single wrestler or two wrestlers that can do what Takeshita and Will Ospreay did in that ring on a fucking Monday night or a SmackDown or NXT. These guys are damn near inhuman. What they were able to do. When we think of the future of wrestling, you have to think of Will Ospreay. You have to think of Takeshita, which is why it's hard for me to kind of hate on this guy. I don't hate him or anything. I'm just like it's like every opportunity has been thrown at Will Ospreay. I'm kind of at the point where it's just like I wish it was just someone else at this point. And I do feel like Takeshita has proven himself over the past at least 6 to 8 months, especially since he's won the international championship. This guy has proved that he is a fucking powerhouse and he's amazing in the ring. Last year, he had damn near the match of the year with Will Ospreay at Revolution. And then here we are again. And these two guys absolutely blew us away. Blew us away. Very intense matchup. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. And matches like this makes me think, well, what happens with Takeshita at this point? Because he's not some little sloucher or anything. He is able to give that same energy that William is able to give. And this guy deserves so much more. I don't want to keep seeing him losing or being in situations that's not favorable for him. Because Takeshita is capable of being able to possibly even be in the main event at All In. The other day, he even did a promo in English, and they just posted that shit on X, not even on the show, which is just absolutely crazy to me. This match is the fucking A+, okay? A+. Everything you need in a wrestling match, they gave it to us. And I am so appreciative of things like this when I am just able to just some matches just make you fall in love with wrestling all over again. This is one of them. Absolutely. But with that said, I was salty about Takeshita not winning. And I'm sorry for everybody that was watching live. I'm sorry I screamed in your ears. But for me, I felt like, why can't we do something different? Why can't we do something that's not obvious? Because let's just be honest, whether if Takeshita would have been on the main event at All In or not going for the world title, he still would have been on that show. He still would have had a big opportunity, at least to be going for a title or whatnot. And Takeshita could have also been afforded that opportunity. So I don't know, it could have gone a different way. And for whatever reason, with Will Ospreay, everything is absolutely predictable. So it takes the fun out of the experience. However, the match itself will just absolutely amaze you. If there's anything you need to go out your way to see in terms of wrestling this year, this is absolutely it. So far, I would say definitely my top 3 matches that I've seen so far this year. Absolute golden. William ends up winning and he is pointing at that All In sign. We already know where this is going. And now when I think of it, it could have been Takeshita versus Kyle Fletcher at the finals. That would have been pretty cool to see if that would have happened. But that's not what we're getting. Main event, the Ops, and excluding Hook. I don't even know what happened. I don't even know if they said if he was sick or whatever. Last week when he was in the match, he threw up all over the ring or whatever. So maybe he's not feeling well. I kind of put in my mind that they realized that he's a shitty wrestler and shouldn't even be holding the trios title. So why even put him in this match? They end up replacing him with Powerhouse Hobbs, which I think was a good choice. But at that point, we're literally 3 minutes before the show would have ended. And I'm kind of just feeling like, well, it's just going to be shenanigans. Your main event should not feel like we don't really truly need this. Because after what we got with Fletcher, after what we got with Ospreay and Takeshita, I don't think people was truly expecting much out of this. Now, the match was decent. Death Riders, they're all out there except for Pac. Pac, oh my God, he's still injured. Prayers for Pac. And, they're having somewhat of a decent matchup. But there's going to be shenanigans when Jon Moxley tries to get the match to end in disqualification by bringing a chair into the ring, Willow Nightingale come out there to stop Moxley. And Marina is just on the other side of the ring, kind of just walking or whatever. I'm just like, girl, you gonna do something or what? They do get into it a little bit at some point. We get the Bucks that came on out there to help the Death Riders. And then Swerve was in the audience with a hoodie. I thought that was a fan that snatched up one of the Bucks. Look, I get it for storyline purposes and all that stuff. But this is the reason why people wanted the Death Riders to lose these titles to begin with. Which is, they have never done anything fair. They've never won anything fair. Nothing has happened where it's just been clean this entire time. Now look, I'm all for the heels. Absolutely 100%. I side with the Death Riders even when I got bored too, okay? However, they haven't had an opportunity to truly get credibility within this group. And this could have been something where they lost fair and square. I don't know. However, I was just like, well, the Ops, they're going to win. I'm pretty sure they're going to end up winning because we don't do the Freebird rule here in AEW. So Jon Moxley just doing one little thing for the Death Riders before they have to drop their title. What was interesting was I'm thinking that Wheeler Yuta, the runt of the group, once again, is going to be the fall guy as usual. And surprise, surprise, they end up putting, well, they tried to put Wheeler Yuta through the damn announce table, but the table said not today. And then here comes Samoa Joe snatching up Jon Moxley in a coquina clutch. And I was just like, well, you know, this is nothing. Jon Moxley, he's going to make it out of it. Or Claudio going to come break it up. And he passes out. And the Ops, with Powerhouse Ops, ends up winning. Which was like, I wasn't surprised that they won. But Moxley being the one was very interesting choice to me. I don't know if I personally would do that. Wheeler Yuta, it would have made more sense. But Jon Moxley being champion and passing out with the clutch and everything, I thought was very interesting. And another reason why it's interesting, because Jon Moxley also uses a clutch as well with the Bulldog choke. And that's typically how he's been winning these last few matches, to be honest, with the world title. So to see it kind of come sort of full circle with him losing the trios title that he isn't even holding for the group with a clutch was interesting. And what I thought was kind of funny, Swerve was laughing after Prince Nana dancing, celebrating. Then we had some people coming on out there. The Dark Order, who's never been on Dynamite in like, 3 years, came on out to celebrate with them. William Ospreay came on out there with champagne and all that. A.R. Fox, Kevin Knight, a few other people came on out there. I can't remember all the people who came out there. I thought that was like, oh, so we just celebrating now. Where were all y'all when the Death Riders was causing hell up in this company? But now that they lost, now y'all here in the ring celebrating. I don't know if I would say that it was a little unnecessary, a little bit much for what I would think. Very interesting way to close out the show. Overall, I think it was a good show. Some of the outcomes, I was just like, I don't know if that's what I would have done if that was my show. But overall, you know, things felt pretty good in terms of the matches. These wrestlers always show up and show out. Takeshita and William, I cannot stress it enough how these two guys are just, I cannot imagine like AEW without these two guys. I don't know what the future holds for them, but pro wrestling is a brighter place with wrestlers like Takeshita and Will Ospreay. And I hope they encourage other wrestlers to have that same work ethic like how they have in the ring. They put on an absolute amazing match. Tomorrow we do have Collision. Since WrestleMania will be on this weekend. So same time for Dynamite tomorrow for Collision. Should be a really good show. It'll be live. So it should be some interesting developments. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Collision live stream and for the review. Bye.